on, guys? It's Cradrox here, and today I have a little story for you. It's about the time where I actually got kicked out of church. It's a pretty funny one. I was about 4 on a Sunday, and this was like an old mass as usual. This is around the time where, people get up, they walk to the front and receive, like, blessings and stuff, and sometimes the pastor will come around and say, "Peace be with you," and, stuff like that. Now, me as a 4-year-old, I wasn't really too patient when it came to church, and I was always very angry when I had to wake up really early, when I could just be out playing. And as the pastor comes around, as he pats me on the head, something in my little tiny head at the time snapped, and I lashed out, and I started hitting him, punching him, kicking him. Me as a 4-year-old, it doesn't do much, but then eventually, I started scratching at his face and clawing him. I actually did make him bleed a little bit, and people, around me were just shocked and appalled by, the actions I did. Eventually, what ended up happening was my mom picked me up and, took me out of the church, and took me down back to the house, and at the same time, we lived on the same block as, the church, so it was, a quick 2-minute, 3-minute walk from there to my house. I stayed there the rest of the time. And then, a few hours later, at least from what I remember, my dad comes back and tells me that I'm no longer back in that church, or any church for that matter. And naturally, I didn't understand that at the time, but I think about a year later when I tried to attend church again, the people would not, pastors would not let me in, other churchgoers, they wouldn't let me in. And even I even had to try to change churches once to try and keep some faith, but that didn't work out either. Eventually, what ended up happening was that over time, my faith got lost, and I actually was trying to understand what had happened. So I went back and asked the pastor, what exactly happened. And according to the pastor, he said that he saw the devil in me, pretty much. And something like that in a sacred place was not really permitted or allowed. And basically, they just were like, yeah, you can't come back here. You can try and repent, but you just can't come back here. So, me as a kid, I was pretty broken at first, but over time, as I got older, my views on religion have changed. And I'm not saying, you guys have to change, your religion, whatever you want to believe in is your personal opinion, and it's not something I can change, but from my experience with religion, kind of screwed me. Not in the sense that it was their fault, it was more mine because I was ignorant and a little kid, dumb. Irony is kind of funny when you notice it. It gives you a sense of I didn't see that coming. And I actually had this experience with involving this story. A few years ago, or I'd say about 2 or 3, the church basically was closing down. It ran out of funds. It couldn't keep itself running anymore, and it was having its last sermon. My dad took me down because he was the one who used to go to that church all the time, and he brought me, my brother, and my other siblings along. And the funny thing is that as I get to the door, I remember all the bad memories and the kind of awkward memories I've had because of this place. But they looked at me and they were just like, well, and then they gave me the look of, well, we're shutting down anyways, might as well come in for this last sermon. So I was like, I sat in there, and I remember the place being a lot smaller than it used to be, but then again, when you're a kid, everything looks bigger to you. So, yeah, that's my story of how I got kicked out of church. I still haven't gone to church to this day since the last sermon a few years back. And I don't think I will, unless I get married or something, but that's about it. So this has been Cradrox, otherwise known as Mr. No Faith. Be sure to follow YouCrew on Twitter if you feel so inclined. And, like, comment, subscribe. It helps the channel. It helps us. And, so, as always, we're single and we're fucking ready to mingle. Yeet!
UAV energy level
In my sights.
UAV departing AO.
best deterrent. Excellent work.
Ain't no place they could hide from me.